Hey guys, sorry about that, but we're back. Oh, okay. Cool, cool. Hey, we're back. Sorry about that, guys. So when you guys come back, hopefully we'll be on for a little bit. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and try to add her. All right, let's see. Uh-oh. All right, Lanasia, if you can add me, that would be great. Hey, Lanasia, go ahead and see if you can add me, and we'll pick it up from there. It's Brother Joshua Grimmett. Hope I pronounced your name correctly. Ashley Cloud Jones. What's good? So, all right, Lanasia, go ahead and try to add me back, and we'll take it from there. Let's see. Let's see. So, I hope that did it, Lanasia. All right, Lanasia, try it again. Sorry about that, guys. We are having technical difficulties. We'll go ahead, hit those, hit that share button. Hit, let's see those likes. But I'm trying to add Lanasia Douglas back on. Man, just when we were getting started, man, we're having a good, great interview, great conversation, talking about millennials and ministry. I wanted to get her perspective as a female in ministry, seeing that it is harder, I think, for women to be in ministry in comparison to men, especially with some denominations not ordaining women or recognizing women uh, in ministry when I think that women have played a significant part in ministry. And with that being said, if we could use an example, the women showing up, the first to show up at the tomb of Jesus, they were the first to get there and to basically minister to his corpse, really, providing spices. So, but not really being recognized as much as men, but certainly being used and certainly being in the background. And I think that when the Bible says from the book of Joel, all right, there we go. Well, almost.
Okay,
Hey,
I am back.
and we're
It was a
back.
technical difficulty.
I know, right? We took a commercial break,
Right.
and we're back. So, if you're watching, people, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that share button once again. And we were in the middle of a conversation with Lanasia Douglas. You were talking to us about Church in the Underground.
Yes.
Yeah, if you could pick that up, Church in the Underground. Um, what was it all about?
Okay, so I'll start back over, for the ones that missed it or got caught up right there. So
Right.
basically, Church in the Underground was something that I started at John Carroll University. And it was basically a way to basically show them how we go to church, basically. So one thing that I learned from being at John Carroll is like the culture is totally different from what I grew up in, concerning church. And so basically what we did was we invited speakers to come. They came and they ministered. And it was just a way for people to have a God encounter that may not have ever had it before. So it was an awesome, awesome service. We did it once a month. the gospel choir sang. We also invited people to come, like I said, sing, praise, dance, minister, and it was just awesome.
Okay, great. And what year was that you started?
Church in the Underground started in 2015.
Oh, okay,
So
wow.
I continued until I graduated in 2016.
Now, with you starting that, certainly that was very innovative because, it was apart from the Catholic tradition.
Mhm.
Did you meet any resistance trying to start church in the underground?
There was none. And that was only because they were really trying to bring diversity to the campus, especially religious diversity. So I also helped out with that. We had a, um, like a diversity group, and we basically met up and tried to find ways to bring our religion onto the campus so that other people could be aware, and also, to get them to see like how we, act in church or how we do certain things. And so it really was no resistance. I think the only thing that was an issue sometimes was where we had it. And I specifically put it in that place because I knew a lot of students walked past, which was right by the cafeteria. And that was the only resistance we had. Like, we had a lot of issues with the location, but besides all of that, it was cool. They didn't have any issues with it.
Okay, great. I mean, that's good to hear because
Yeah.
certainly when uh, students start things that are apart from the norm on
Mhm.
university, they're usually met with, some type of confrontation, adversity, or what. So that was really like a blessing, you
Yeah,
know.
they were really open. They were really open. They were actually really excited that I was doing that. So it was awesome.
Do you know if that was the first of its kind, a church
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
like you like a pioneer, man.
Definitely.
Like I said, an Unitarian.
Yeah.
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 Hey, everybody, go ahead and hit that share button. I apologize. We had to start over. We were experiencing some technical difficulties, but we are live with the one and only, she's famous, everybody,
Oh,
Lanasia
I know.
Douglas, to do things. And as a millennial in ministry, only 24 years old, the Lord calling her. Now, you have done some speaking engagements, right? But you're not really like what we would call like an ordained minister.
No.
But
Nope.
how did you start speaking? How did you start doing your public speaking?
Um, hmm. I would say the first time that I spoke was at a youth service that the church that I grew up in had. They have it every year. They asked me to come and speak, and so that was my first time doing it. And then I was asked to come back to another youth service like the summer after. So I haven't had many speaking engagements, but I mean, I can do it, if I'm asked, but I don't, I don't really, go out that much.
All right, so and also you wear like I said, many hats. So you do speaking, and also you're a psalmist as well. How
Mhm.
did you start singing and ministering in church through song?
I really just started singing like with friends. We used to start groups, go out and minister at different churches, and then I started my own group, and I would like write songs, but they never really went past my notebook. And one time I went to an event and I was just super inspired. So I was just like, man, I need to get some of these songs that I've written, recorded. And that's when I came out with Ready for Change. It literally took me like a week because it was already like written. So, I mean, it took longer for it to actually be produced and,
Right.
for the sound to be exactly how I, pictured it. But that's how that all started. So now I just kind of minister, do praise and worship here and there. So
Okay. Now you mentioned your single "Ready for Change." Is that
mhm.
like a whole project or just a single "Ready for Change"?
It's just a single. So it came out. I think I released that in 2015, I believe.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah, I remember that. Now, are you
yeah.
planning on doing some more recording or?
Uh, I am. I'm still just kind of taking my time with it, but yeah, I do have more music, and I did plan to do an EP, so maybe that'll still, come out sometime in the near future. But yeah.
Okay, everybody, listen now for Lanasia Douglas. If you haven't Ready for Change, if you haven't heard it, you can go download it. Ready for Change. Um, Now, as we go into, still, I want everybody to hit that share button. Sorry, I apologize for the last live thing we were doing. We had some technical difficulties. Um, I guess some people will catch this a little later. Hey, there's my cousin, Ebony. What's up? What's up, man? Um, so let's go further. As a female in ministry, all right, you started basically a church on campus, right? Um, Praise and worship, your songs. Um, you've done recording already. Um, do you think with your upbringing, so looking back and also going forward, do you think people treat you differently because you're a female in ministry?
Um,
Or just kind of talk about that a little bit. Or do you think that it's just the same across the board?
I don't. I think I've never experienced that. Like I've never encountered anybody treating me differently because I'm a female in ministry. I think it does happen though. Like I know
Yeah.
some people who still have pastors that don't believe in females preaching in the pulpit. I've never encountered that. I've never experienced that, but I think it does happen.
Okay, wow. But you say you like on your part, you've never like really experienced, at least not openly anyway.
No, nothing. If they did it, I didn't recognize or realize. So
Yeah, because you never know about the haters you don't know about.
yeah,
So
yeah, I've never experienced that. At least not yet, because I'm still kind of fresh and new in ministry. So you know.
all right, cool, man. We'll definitely be praying that God will direct your steps and all that you do. Hey, but hey, listen, there's a couple more things I want to ask you about, like the Third Generation Conference that you
Mhm.
start. Like you've been doing like really some big things in the Cleveland. So, like I said, you've started Church in the Underground. You've done like some music, praise and worship, all of that. But you've also, was this your first conference?
Yeah, this is my first conference.
Yeah, okay, how did that go? Talk a little bit about what the Chosen Generation Conference.
Okay,
Last,
so I'll explain what it was and how it came about. Basically, my friend and I wrote a blog, and it became very popular. I think we started it back in 2014. It was very popular, and it originally was a purity blog. And so we just kind of talked to young adults about waiting and keeping themselves from marriage, also just living a pure lifestyle. And we started planning the conference. Thanks, Ron. We started planning the conference, and I had everything mapped out, but it just did not work out. And so, in the beginning of 2016, um, actually, the conference was in 2017. So, in the beginning of 2017, I started an accountability group with some of my friends. And basically, we pushed each other to reach our goals. And one of the goals that I had was to start the conference because I had, forgotten about it. And so I wanted to move forward with it. And so that's what I did. And basically, at first it was just for young adults, but then I opened it up because the theme of it was walking in God's purpose for your life. And one
okay,
thing that I've realized is like a lot of people don't really know what their purpose is. Like you have a lot of millennials, you have a lot of baby boomers, all of that. They don't know what they're called to do. And maybe you're like 60 or 50 or 70 and you just feel like, I don't really know what God is calling me to do, or I don't feel like I've achieved all that God wanted me to do in my lifetime. And so basically the conference was to help you figure out what is it that God is calling you to do, how do I identify this, how do I know that God is telling me to do this, but also, how do I walk in it. And so basically I opened it up, so it wasn't just for young adults. We actually had like a grandmother there. I think she was like 60 or something like that. So she came and it was really nice. We did like a mixer, we had like a paint and sip, we did vision boards, we had a DJ, we had a photo booth, all that cool stuff. And then the next day we had a conference. And I just had like a lot of my friends and Ministers come and film videos, just about the roadblocks that people encounter when it comes to figuring out their purpose. You know, fear, doubt, um, just a lot of different things. I think, like I said, there are a lot of people who don't know what their purpose is. And honestly, I felt like it was life changing, not just for the people that attended, but also for me, you know? So it was really nice. A lot of hard work, but it turned out great.
Wow, that's amazing, man. I mean, I want to thank you for being transparent, talking about, the failure of it at first and then like how you rebound it. Um, with you being, I hate to say, so young, being so young, did you find that being like, very discouraging? Like you didn't want to go forward with it, or?
I just experienced a lot, like when it came to, and I feel like anytime God tells you to do something, obviously, you know, the devil is going to try to hinder it and discourage you and try to stop you. And I just encountered a lot. You know, it really wasn't my age. Sometimes I kind of felt like I was by myself, you know, planning, and it's a lot. You know, it's a lot to handle. And I'm the type of person, like, I can plan events and I'm good. So I'm thinking, like, you know, I plan events all the time, so it's nothing. But a conference is like on a whole nother level, you know. And then we actually exceeded the number of, you know, attendees. So at first, I think we wanted like 50 people or something like that, and we actually ended up selling close to 100 tickets. So, like,
Wow.
for it to be, you know, a new conference, it was a lot of people, you know, and that kind of made me nervous a little bit because it's like, okay, I wasn't expecting, you know, this many people to register. So,
That's great.
yeah.
That's really great. Are you planning on having additional conferences? Like, are you at the one this year? Or,
You know, I battled with it for a while, but
okay.
I don't know yet. I'm still waiting. You know, I did start planning a little bit. I think this year it was a little harder to get into it. Um, I thought that it would be a little easier since I've done it before, but you know, really just hearing from God about the topics and you know exactly what to speak about, I think is the most challenging right now. So I'm still waiting to see, you know, if that's going to be possible this year. But I was hoping that it would be an annual thing. So.
Okay, great. Great, man. Well, certainly with you being involved in all these things, man, at a oh, somebody was calling. How you gonna call in the middle?
I was like, what happened? Okay.
I know, man. Somebody calling, man. That's crazy. They're probably watching too, like I'm gonna call. But hey, I also wanted to talk to you about some of the things that may have affected you in ministry. Certainly, when someone is greatly used in ministry, is because they've had some hurts, they've had some broken or bad relationships, something that really affected them that will cause them to engage in ministry. Now, you don't have to go into a lot of detail, but um, how has I guess either broken relationships or hurts, how has that affected you, and how has that
Oh.
affected
Oh, well, I'll be
you? Is that like
transparent
a
and
driving
say,
force, or
um, I think it made me a lot stronger, and I think anybody can say that when it comes to like, you know, broken relationships and hurt and all of that. Um, for me personally, I can just be transparent and say, there have been certain people in my life that I've gotten really, really, really close to, and you know, as a human, I'm already like a really clingy person because I love people. So I think like as a human, sometimes we put too much trust in people, and I think that's the perfect opportunity for God to like show you, like, you know, put all of your trust in me.
right,
Because I think a lot of people, like specifically with me, you know, when I get close to somebody, I put a lot of trust in them, you know, and sometimes I can sometimes make them an idol, you know, without even realizing it. Um, and so I think through those different experiences, God really was just like, look, look,
right,
that's not it. Like, you need to focus on me. You know, you need to put all of your trust in me. And I think that has definitely impacted my ministry. It's definitely impacted the way that I view certain things and certain people, because now my mentality is, yes, this person may have hurt me, or yes, I may have had problems with this person in the past, but they're still a man or a woman of God. And so I
Right.
think we really have to like look at people like that. And I'm really trying to, keep that mentality, like, yes, this person may have made this mistake, but that doesn't change, how God views them or what God plans to do in their life. And I think at that point you can move forward. And I'm just learning in my own, life. I think it's very important. Obviously, it's very important to forgive, and that's something that God has definitely been dealing with me with, because there have been certain people in my life that I've encountered, throughout ministry, and maybe I was hurt by them, and I kind of just moved on, not really dealing with the forgiveness aspect of it. So, I
Right.
mean, I may not literally feel like I hate them or I don't like them or I have a problem with them, but that hurt is still there, and that unforgiveness is still there. So, God has just really been dealing with me on the importance of forgiveness and being able to use this for my ministry and for my testimony. It's all a part of my testimony. Unfortunately, I'm sure there have been many of times where we have hurt other people too, unintentionally or intentionally, and it's, used for their ministry, or for their testimony. So I think that helps me to, push forward and move forward, and really just look at myself. I think that's the most important part, because in ministry, I think sometimes we forget to, examine ourselves. And so I think that hurt really, helped me to move forward. And also, like I said, to examine, how I think of people and how I look at people. And do I love this person? Do I truly love this person with the love of God? Do I truly want to move into all God has for me, or am I going to stay stuck in what this person did to hurt me?
Right.
And I
Okay.
think once we like look at it as just something that's a part of our testimony, I think that it'll make a lot of us, stronger.
Right.
Definitely concerning ministry.
Because I've heard preachers say that really forgiveness is not about the other person; it's for you. Because,
Yeah.
we're so focused on that hurt, that pain, what the other person did to us, that we become stuck in life.
Mhm.
Uh, so it's like forgiveness frees you,
Mhm.
forgive of that memory, that past incident, or whatever. So if there's anybody watching, uh, really forgiveness is for you to be set free. So whatever it is, I know it's hurtful. You feel like that was just too wrong what the person did.
Mhm.
Forgiveness is for you to be set free. Hey, I just want to encourage everybody to hit that share button. Let's see some likes. We got Ramona on. Shauna, what's good? Thomas Pope watching. What's up? Uh, who else did I miss? Rain, I think I saw. But yeah, but moving on. I just got a couple more questions for you, and then I'll let you
Okay.
get. And, like I said, everybody, she's famous, man. Lanasia Douglas.
I'm
She's
not.
like an apostle starting churches on campuses, man.
Uh-uh.
That's perfect. But with all of that being said, like you said, the hurt is really uh, something that pushes you forward, and it pushes you to trust in God more. Where do you see the church headed as far as millennials taking the helm? Um, because certainly you are a leader in the church, whether you have a specific title or not. You started all these things. You're very influential. Where do you see the church headed in this century? Do you think? Well, here's the perspective that I'm coming from. We had a great outpouring of the Holy Spirit back in the early 20th century. Uh, you may be familiar with the Azusa Street
Mhm.
revival.
Yeah.
Do you think something like that again will happen with the millennial um, being in leadership now?
Mhm.
Or what do you think about all of that? Do you think
I'm
there's enough?
excited. I'm very excited. I think millennials are very creative. And I was watching the last interview, and I remember you were talking about how some people have a problem with how millennials ask questions, and they're always curious as to why this is like this or why this is like that. I think that's a great thing. Um, and I think it's really just from the viewpoint that you're looking at it from. Because me being a millennial, just like I thought about, okay, what are some things that make people feel like, they're being hindered from reaching their purpose? Like, I think it's okay to ask questions. Like, I think that sometimes people get it confused. Like, they look at Christian millennials, and I'm not saying some Christian millennials aren't rebellious, but then I think they kind of mix this up with the worldly millennials, because now you have like a lot of worldly millennials saying, "Oh, I worship the universe and the sun god and the moon god and all of that other stuff." Um, and so I've encountered a lot of millennials who aren't Christian, who ask me, well, if this is like this, then why is this like this? Or if God is real, then why is this like this? And I worship the universe and chakras and all of that other stuff. And I mean, obviously, I don't like those questions. But, as a Christian millennial, I ask relevant questions that benefit the kingdom. And so I'm very excited. Like, we've all heard about the revival. And I believe that God is truly raising us up, this generation up for that. So I think it's an exciting time for the church. I definitely see the church coming back into full power and authority. And I'm just excited. Like, I'm excited.
Oh, great, man. I'm glad to hear that. Like I told some of our previous guests, I'm encouraged from what I see from this generation. I think the church can make it because people like you and some of our other millennials. I see there's Danielle Siobhan Clark is watching. Yes, sir. Um, also, Larry Page. All right. Uh, Now, with all of that being said, um, certainly the church is moving forward.
Mhm.
And you and I have talked about um, some of the, I guess, ungodly millennials, as far as some of the older people talk about the millennials are too worldly in church. They're bringing things into the church that are not of God. Do you believe that? You think there's too much new things that are happening in the church, or because I know you had some feelings, you
Oh,
felt some type of way about some of the millennials not living godly lifestyles.
hmm again, you just got to test the spirit by the spirit. Like, I feel because I think some of the things that we do bring in the church are great. But then again, like I said, there are some millennials who don't live holy lifestyles. And I mean, I really can't like speak on that, because I know, like, for me, I know what I live by. Like, I'm all for holiness and living a pure lifestyle. However, you do have some Christians who just don't want to do that. Like, they're in the church and then they're also like in the club and like kind of doing their own thing. So I don't really agree with that. I think, and I mean, this is kind of off topic, but I think like some of the millennials now in music, in gospel music, they are kind of like going a little off. Like Radia and I were talking about it yesterday with the Walls group and their new song "My Life." Like, I love that song, but I just kind of feel like it is kind of going against like the Bible and like biblical standards, because you're saying like you can't tell me what's right, you can't tell me about my life, but like correction is in the Bible. So like if somebody is like quoting a word to you and then you're kind of like living a certain way, and then you say like, okay, well, this is my life, like I can do what I want to do, like you're not God, so you can't tell me. I think that is kind of being a little rebellious, because if I'm reading a word and it relates to what you're doing, like if you're having sex, or fornicating, and like I'm telling you, that's not okay, but then you're listening to that song and then you're telling me, well, you can't tell me what to do, like you can't tell me what's right, you can't tell me, you're not God, you can't judge me. It's like, but it's kind of in the words, so it's like I can, you know
Yeah, it's real funny because I got that song up right now on my laptop.
yeah, I love that song though, like,
Yeah,
it's real
yeah,
cool.
all faded to the
I
wall.
feel I love
Yeah,
those
I think
songs,
we are
right?
talking about. people trying to tell them, how to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But certainly people can take it the wrong way. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, maybe they ain't meaning it like that. Like maybe they're just saying, don't. They're
yeah.
trying to find a way to say, "Don't judge me." But like
Right,
as a millennial, out in the church and also outside of the church, if you listen to that song, to me, it's kind of sending the wrong message. Because then it's kind of like, okay, well, because they're, especially if you're not in the church and you're listening to it, it's a gospel song, so you're assuming like this must be the way it is. Like you can't tell me how to do certain things. And I think that's how people kind of get that viewpoint of,
right.
millennials being rebellious and saying, you can't tell me what to do, you can't tell me how to live, that type of thing.
Hey, got mad love for the walls. That's
I
Lanasia.
love them though. No, I love. I listen to their CD every day. I listen to that song too.
Right,
I'm not taking it in, but I
right.
listen to it.
Yeah, I see we have that bet. So there's a
Yeah.
difference between correction, accountability, and judgment. All
Right.
right. Yeah,
Amen.
I like
Yeah.
we have to give you an offering after this live.
Right. Right.
But let's we want to go ahead and wrap it up. I know I gotta let you go. But
Okay.
are there any last words that you would like to um I guess talk to the generations about, like how can we understand each other, millennials and older generation?
I think really just by coming together and involving them more in what we're doing, because I think
Right,
it's like kind of separate right now. Like, they have their opinions and then we have our opinions. So somehow, like, using our creativity to bring everybody together so that there's no separation or confusion. And I just think, like, honestly, people just need to be more open because, like I said, you do have some of those traditional churches that are still kind of stuck in the past and they're not really looking at God. Like I feel like God is trying to do a new thing, but they're so stuck on what God did before that they're not really, open to the newness that God is trying to bring into the church. So I think just really, being able to have dialogue and talk and discussions, about the differences and trying to find a way to break those barriers. I think that's very important.
okay, great, man. That's what it's all about. It's just coming together and trying to understand each other,
Hmm.
keeping those lines of communication open,
Yeah.
and that's the way that the future will be successful. Excuse me, successful. So, um, man, I'm glad we had you on, man. Like I said, Angela Nathan, the only 22 years old, and the things you've done, I think that most men preachers would be a little because you're a young lady that's done all these things in ministry, and I know that there are a lot of souls that have been touched, souls that have been won for Christ. So, with all of that being said, why don't you go ahead and would you mind just saying like a few seconds of a word of prayer to close us
Oh,
out?
I got. Okay, Lord, I thank you for every single person that was on this live. Lord, I thank you for Brian and Faithshare. Lord, I pray that you would continue to expand it, Lord. And I just pray that somebody was touched from this live video, Lord. I pray that um, as we leave this live, God, that you would just continue to pour into us, God. I pray that you would continue to open doors for us, God. And Lord, I just pray that you would just continue to touch Brian's ministry, Lord. And like I said, I just pray that it would continue to grow. And I just pray that you would just keep us, God, until next week. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Hey, for the outro, I'm gonna play a little bit.
The My Life song. Yeah, that's my song. I ain't gonna lie.
I hope that's not too loud.
Nah, it's good. Well, thank you for inviting me on. It was great.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. You're my little sister. And again, man, you've done big things in ministry. So I pray that the Lord will be with you. Um, as old people say, hence now and forevermore.
Amen.
You continue your journey in ministry. Yeah.
Thank
All right,
you.
Lisa. I'll
All
talk
right.
to you soon. I'll text you after all of this.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right.
be
Bye.
blessed.